Hello and welcome. Hi, I am Diana Gasparoni and I am the founder of Be.WELL Psychotherapy, and this is our monthly wellness talk. And I am super excited to have Tamika Covington here tonight giving you a talk about anxiety during a pandemic, which I'm sure we have all witnessed or had or experienced, excuse me, in some way, shape, or form. So I am not going to take up all of your time because that's something I would do, but I'm not going to do that today, and I'm going to turn it right on over to Tamika.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Diana. So,
Sure.
hi and good evening. Welcome, everyone. My name is Tamika Covington. I am so happy that you all are able to join us this evening to have this very important conversation about managing anxiety as the pandemic continues. So, we're going to get started. Just give me a second. I'm going to share my screen with you all so you can see this presentation. Okay. All right. Okay. So can you see it? Okay. All right. So a little bit about me. I'm a licensed social worker serving clients in New Jersey and New York as a part of the Be Well psychotherapy team. I'm also an elementary school clinician in Brooklyn, New York. I've been in the field of social work for over 10 years now. I'm very passionate about the work that I do, being able to help clients to meet their therapeutic goals. I primarily work with clients in addressing the areas of mental health, life transitions, relationships, self esteem, and much more. And as far as my major modalities that I use in therapy sessions, my approach is typically behavioral therapy, CBT, as well as motivational interviewing. I am available to share resources, so please feel free to send me an email anytime. And overall, I thrive when my clients thrive. Okay. And so now that we've got that out the way and I shared a little bit about myself, I definitely want to give you all an opportunity to go grab a notebook, a journal, pen, paper, pencil, something to write with, because I would love for this to be an interactive session, interactive webinar, so to speak. And there will be some prompts later on. So I want to make sure that we are holding space for you to ask the questions that you want to ask, to really process what you have experienced as far as anxiety or what you've heard, and how you may be able to pass this information on to others. Okay. So, what is anxiety? So, anxiety is an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure. People with anxiety disorders usually have recurring intrusive thoughts or concerns. They may avoid certain situations out of worry. So sometimes people feel that anxiety in itself is something that's horrible. You should never feel anxiety. It's worrisome, but anxiety is normal. Okay. When anxiety becomes more of a concern is when it is intrusive and impeding on your everyday activities. So, for someone to feel anxiety before a test, before a presentation at work, or any of the above, that's normal. But if anxiety causes you to want to stay stuck in your bed, if anxiety causes you to have a fear of things that, for many others seems like that's not something that you really should be so panicked over, it is probably impeding on your everyday life, and that's when it should be addressed. And there's many ways to address anxiety. So some choose therapy, some may need to be diagnosed medication. There's various practices. So we will take a look at that. So now when it comes to the pandemic and anxiety, we realize that it has been on the rise. So in the beginning, many of us were told we'll be home for about 2 weeks. Our employers, notified us that, hey, there's this virus going on. we have to leave the building. We may be out. Just make sure you take all of your belongings with you. And that we thought was the end of that. We might be out for a week or two, get a little break, can work remotely, and we'll go back to what we consider to be normal. But we realize now that we're already in 2021, that is not necessarily the case. And the pandemic still, unfortunately, continues. And so, the reason why, for many people, anxiety was on the rise is because of conflicting news reports. There were some who were saying, this is like the flu, no big deal. Different news stations were reporting very differently. And so, you didn't know what to really think of the pandemic, of COVID-19. And that was one thing that many people, many clients, especially those who have started going to therapy for the first time, have reported that, I thought this was going to be something temporary. I didn't know what to make of it because of the news. And then we have the massive number of deaths that add on to that. And as of today, I read that worldwide it's been over 2.7 million deaths. And for some, we're not even able to comprehend what that really means. For 2.7 million people worldwide to die over a virus, it just seems like something that we can't even imagine. And so, with that, there's still the fear of the unknown, which causes a lot of anxiety as well. Not knowing what to expect, not knowing what your day to day may look like, not knowing what the next week may look like, the next month, and so forth. And getting back to this idea of what is normal. And so, for many of us, we had what we felt was a normal life. We went to work, or we went to school, or we were home, and we just managed life every day as it came, right? Like, things can change up from day to day, but not so drastically. And the pandemic has caused that to shift a ton. And now, when we think about um, creating a sense of normalcy, something that I've been stressing with my clients, friends, family, is that it's important to create a schedule. Just waking up, rolling out of the bed, and determining that you're just going to jump on the Zoom call, or I'm just going to make a quick run and then come back and just get into the day, is not necessarily a schedule that is not necessarily a solid schedule. And so, being able to identify, what are the things that I did prior to the pandemic? What did my schedule really look like? Okay, I got up, combed my hair, brushed my teeth, picked out an outfit that I wanted to wear, pulled myself together, set up in a certain space, whether the living room or the kitchen, or again, leaving out of the house to go somewhere. That's what my schedule looked like. I would eat lunch at a certain time. I would come home at a certain time, maybe watch my TV shows, take a nap, cook dinner. But for many people, that has changed. And getting back to a schedule is really important to create a sense of normalcy as you manage your anxiety, or helping to manage your anxiety. That is one way to do it. So, finding a schedule that works for you, even if it's temporary, even if it's, this is the schedule that I'm going to stick with for this week, and next week it looks different, that is absolutely okay. Implementing morning and evening routines. That is another way that you can address some of the anxiety that you're feeling, and to create a sense of normalcy. Okay. And that plays into also having a schedule in the morning, waking up and saying, you know what, this is going to be my time of meditation, or this is going to be my time for yoga, as you see here, working out. I'm going to do some Pilates, just finding time for you before you start to engage in anything else. For some people, you may start scrolling through social media, checking the TV, your phone, emails. Those things can bombard your thoughts, and they can overstimulate you first thing in the morning. And so, you want to ensure that you avoid those type of activities before you really allow yourself to become grounded. So again, some of the grounding techniques can be meditation, breathing, affirmations. Some people may choose to listen to a podcast in the morning. Some may just want to meditate with certain sounds or music and journal during that time. And all of that is great to get your day started, to kind of feel a sense of calm, right? And to start off not feeling overwhelmed. Morning anxiety, that's a real thing. And also evening anxiety, but making sure that a schedule is in place can really help you out. Facing anxiety head on. So when it comes to school and work, and especially in the remote setting, create to-do lists. Okay, so just like you're creating schedules, try and create to-do lists. Being able to identify what is it that I really have to get done today is so important. Because when it comes to anxiety, anxiety tends to overwhelm you with this idea that there is so much to do, there is so much that's now out of your control. You're never going to be able to get everything that you need to get done. And those are overwhelming thoughts and feelings that you can have about school, work, family, relationships, and so forth. So create a to-do list. This could be, again, a daily to-do list. This could be a weekly to-do list. Just making sure that you have something that allows you to get your thoughts from out of your head and onto a piece of paper can be super helpful. And also managing your expectations. So when you see this to-do list, is it a to-do list that you find to be generally realistic, right? Can you accomplish the goals that you set on your to-do list within the amount of time that you have set out for yourself to do it? If it is a daily to-do list, you want to make sure that with the time that you are awake, that you are able to complete it. So that is one way that you can manage expectations, writing it down, reviewing it, and then asking yourself that question: is this realistic for me? Can I manage what's on this list? Do I need help with any of it? If I do need help, who can I seek help from? And not being afraid to ask for help can also help to minimize your anxiety. Oftentimes, especially if you're very independent, you may feel that asking for help is a sign of weakness. If this is how you always managed your life, but asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It actually shows that you're able to identify the areas where you can use support and do something about it. Okay. And then when it comes to anxiety related to personal relationships, it is so important to check in with you before you check in with others. So, the example that I always think about is when you're on the airplane, right? And God forbid there's something that happens, there's turbulence, and these masks fall down. They always tell you that you need to put on your mask first before you can put your mask on, or before you can put a mask on for anyone else. That is to make sure that you are alive, well functioning, that you lose consciousness before you are trying to help someone else. So it's important that when it comes to personal relationships, that you check in with you before you check in with others. This can be with your spouse, your partner, whether they're living in the same house or not. This can be with your children, with other friends, others who are outside, extended family members, loved ones, and so forth. Make sure that you know and are able to identify, this is how I'm feeling, okay? And then you can follow up with others. Be honest also about how you feel about seeing people. Do you feel comfortable seeing people in person? Is that where you are right now in the midst of this pandemic? That may not be the case for you, and that's absolutely okay, right? No is a complete sentence. So if someone is telling you, or someone is encouraging you to get out and live your life a little bit, and you can't stay in forever, and you're not ready to do that, it's okay to say, no, I'm okay. I'm good. Not yet. Right? Because you don't want to increase your anxiety by saying yes to someone else while saying no to yourself. And I'm very big on that. Don't say yes to someone else while you're continuously saying no to yourself. Okay. And then schedule a time to be with people who are uplifting. So just as we spoke about those grounding techniques in the morning and making sure that you check in with you, you want to spend time with people who are encouraging you, who are uplifting you. Being in a pandemic, whether you live with others or you live by yourself, can feel very lonely at times, right? It can feel very like out of place, like you don't know how to feel. And so ensuring that you're around others who can say, you know what, you're doing the best that you can. I appreciate you. I love you. Those are the people that you want to surround yourself with. So those friendships or relationships, so to speak, that for so long you felt have been toxic, not necessarily giving you what you need. These are people who always have something negative to say. They make you even more worried or anxious because they're constantly dumping, their issues, concerns, or problems on you. Those are not people that you necessarily want to be engaging with at this point in time. That is some advice there. All right. And so, how have you addressed anxiety in the past? So, this is where I would love for you all to be able to reflect on some of the following questions. And I am going to actually stop sharing for a minute and I'm going to read these to you. And so this is a time where you can, again, grab your journal, grab a piece of paper, pen, pencil, and reflect on the following questions because after this webinar, we want to ensure that you feel as prepared as possible to go on and feel successful while you remain in this pandemic. There are going to be feelings of uncertainty. There are going to be feelings of anxiety, but we don't want you to feel trapped in that place. If you feel trapped, if you feel like you can't get out of it, that this is going to last forever, we definitely want you to seek additional supports if you haven't already done so. But again, I'm going to stop my screen and I'm going to just read off these prompts that I would like you to reflect on. Okay. Okay. So let's get started. So it says, reflecting on the following, the first prompt is, in what areas of my life do I tend to be most anxious? So in what areas of your life do you tend to be most anxious? So let's think about situations, triggers, people, and let's go from there. So I'm going to give you just a few seconds. In what area of your life do you tend to feel most anxious or be most anxious? So feel free to write that down. If you are comfortable, you can also drop it in the chat. Feel free to do so. Okay. And there will be an opportunity as well to even come up and share your prompt. So if that's something that you all feel comfortable with down the line, please do that. So that is the first one. The second prompt is, do I know what my triggers are? Do I know what my triggers are? It's important that you know what your triggers are, because if you don't, you may put yourself in situations that will allow your anxiety to be triggered even more because you did not say, you know what, being around this person or when they say certain things tends to trigger me. I think that that's not what I want to do today. So knowing what your triggers are super important. Do you know what your triggers are? The next one is, what approaches have I taken to address my anxiety? What approaches have you taken to address your anxiety? And as a follow up, has it worked? Have those approaches worked for you? And be honest, because this is for you. So if you know that you're just not there yet with certain things, it's okay. But you can't address something that you are not willing to identify or be honest with. This is for you. Okay. Has it worked? So now as we move on, the next prompt is, how long have I tried this approach? So again, for some people, as many of my clients, they have decided that, you know what, this pandemic has increased my anxiety, or I have never experienced anxiety in this way outside of the work and school deadlines, dealing with conflict, or not feeling like I'm in control, right? So now I want to seek out a therapist. And so that can be an approach, but that is not the only approach. So the question is, how long have you tried this approach? What approaches have you tried, and how long have you tried this approach? Okay, thank you. I'm seeing some feedback in the chat. All right. And then the next question is, do I need to make any adjustments? Do you need to make any adjustments? You tried something for a little bit, whether it's a couple weeks, a couple months, you're not going to just be, all set after that. You have to continue to put things into practice to see if it works. So do you need to make any adjustments? Like, is it working, but not necessarily all the time? And then the last prompt is, what else am I willing to try? So what else are you willing to try? Okay. So that is it for the prompts. And and I see some comments here. So it said, okay, I am honestly saying I'm trying to meditate daily and look at my phone 80% of the time. Instead, I know my meditation will be more helpful, right? And you want to put your phone outside of the bedroom, which gives anxiety. That's important. Sometimes having your phone right by your bed, or having your phone in a place that is, constantly seen, and every time it lights up, you're like looking at it, you're wondering who's texting you, who's calling you, who's emailing you. Sometimes you need to know that the phone can be the cause of the anxiety. There's so much coming in, there's so much that you feel that you have to deal with or handle, that can be a cause of anxiety. All right. And as we move on in the pandemic, we noticed that anxiety might have increased again more in the morning. So for some who feel or experience morning anxiety, as soon as you wake up, you're like, what is happening? I felt like I worked a full day already, feeling very nervous, very anxious. Some signs or symptoms, your hands may be sweaty, like your palms, that tightness in your stomach, your heart is racing, you feel overwhelmed or like you can't focus on your thoughts. Those are different things that people experience at various times of the day, but specifically for some who experience morning or evening anxiety, you definitely want to think about creating those, again, to-do lists, schedules, so that you can have something to look forward to and not feel like life is just happening before you and that you don't have any control over it. Okay? And understanding whether or not your anxiety is being caused by social interactions, going outside? Is it the idea of my health and my health being compromised that is causing my anxiety? Is death now looming over me? Do I feel very fearful of death because of the pandemic? And these are the different feelings and emotions that and thoughts that can come up because of anxiety while we are in the midst of a pandemic. All right. And so now, as we kind of move on, I definitely want to give people an opportunity to share out again, whether in the chat or to come up on stage and to, split screen, be able to share out how you were able to process some of these prompts and what you think came up for you. What were you surprised by? What are you planning on being more intentional about moving forward? I welcome you to do so. And also, please feel free to drop questions in the chat and I will be happy to answer them. Are there any volunteers to come up and share their prompts? Diana.
Well, I see everybody. So
Okay.
I can see everybody's name. So if anybody wants to come up, I can definitely let you in. And this was my thing. So I just wanted to jump in because I think that managing anxiety for me personally has been the hardest part of the pandemic, and it has been my phone. Like my phone has caused me so much anxiety. So, because I think somebody's going to tell me something all the time, and I'm like,
Yes.
and like, but when I'm not with it, then I feel more anxious. So I'm trying to like find that balance. And I was not as addicted to my phone before the pandemic. It was like it gave me the connection at the beginning, and now that we can start to go outside, I'm like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit nervous. I've been around a lot of people in the past couple weeks, and it's been a little bit weird.
Yeah. And something that I've also shared with clients in sessions is that it's okay to turn off notifications. It's okay to find time that you consider your sacred time, right? So everyone doesn't need to have access to you 24 hours of the day. If it's
Yeah.
an emergency, more than likely they can call 911 or they need to call 911 before they call you. And so even if it's turning off your phone in the middle of the night, so you're not hearing these buzz and ringing or seeing the light up and wondering is something happening, you are free to do all of the above.
Thank you. Because it is the thing. And then you look and like it pops up and it's just like, oh, something's on sale. Like
Yeah. Right.
it's nothing
No
that needed to
emergency,
wake
no
you up.
real
But like
news.
you have like
Yes.
an instant surge. Does anybody else want to come up? You can just put in the chat if you want to come
Yeah.
and share some of your thoughts. We'd love to hear from them. We'd love to hear them.
Please. This is like a webinar, but a session as well. This is a taste
Yeah.
of a session. How have you all been managing your anxiety in the midst of the pandemic?
All right, you decide how long you're gonna.
Oh, thank you, Jillian. So Jillian shared finding green space in the city has helped reduce anxiety a lot. I love that. For me, Jillian, it's water. So water soothes me. Water brings me this sense of calm. So whether it's going for a walk, a jog by the water, listening to water, like sounds of water play while I meditate, that has really helped to reduce my anxiety, especially in the morning and getting my day started. So thank you for sharing that. Finding green space in the city. I love that. Anyone else? We'd love to hear from you. Help others by sharing. Someone may not have even thought about some of the things that you are doing. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So if not, I'm going to share my screen once again, just to give you a little bit more insight, as well as to share some resources that I would love to pass along. So let me do that. All right. So now, moving forward with this idea of therapy being your choice of approaching or one approach to your anxiety. In a typical session with me, I offer room for updates for clients to let me know this is how I'm doing. This is how my anxiety felt this week. Um, I felt really good, or I felt very frustrated, and so forth. Being able to check in on your mindset. How are you thinking? Are you looking at the glass half empty or half full? Have you become more worrisome or less as time goes on? I know that some people are going to take the vaccine. Some people feel comfortable doing taking the vaccine. Some people don't. You know, checking in on how you feel about different situations, different things, and where you are at that time is something that I bring up in sessions. Again, identifying triggers. What are your triggers related to the pandemic? What are your triggers when it comes to anxiety? And how are you planning to address these things? So once you're able to identify, the next step is putting a plan into place. You know what it is. What is it that you can do about it? There's always a choice. Okay. When you start to feel helpless at any point in time, you need a little bit of a boost, right? You don't want to try to figure this out alone. If you feel like, oh, this is just the same thing over and over, it's always going to be the same, a therapist can help support you in that way. Small actionable steps for in between sessions, I consider that homework. Okay. And that could be me sending you a video link, a podcast to listen to. Here's an activity that I would like you to consider. Here is a journal prompt. And as I'm sharing this with you, this is not to say that you need to sign up for a session with me per se, but these are things that you can also consider on your own as you're working with your own therapist, or as you are looking for a therapist, checking in these areas. And then my ideal client is someone who is ready to make some change. So you have to be ready to be the change that you want to see. You have to be ready to act on the things that you are not happy with, and to be authentic with yourself, to be true to yourself about where you see areas of concern and what you can really do to address it. Okay? So there's always hope, right? There is always light at the end of the tunnel. It's always about your perspective, though. What is your perspective saying to you? How are you seeing things? Is everything doom and gloom? Or do you feel like, you know what, I can make it through this. I need help. I'm going to get the supports that I need. This doesn't feel comfortable, but I'm going to give it a try. It's about growing pains. All right. People also, as I kind of close out with the resources, people also find peace in various areas of their lives, right? So that may be through religious affiliations, through your church, your temple, your mosque, and so forth. Support groups are available, even while remote. There are support groups that are available, and so you can look into those. But I also wanted to share these resources with you. So the first is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Okay. But remember that just because you experience anxiety doesn't mean that you have a mental illness per se. Anxiety is a normal response to things that may seem like make you feel like you're in danger, or uncomfortable, you don't have control over. You can also reach out to another organization, which is for the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. All right. And then the National Institute of Mental Health. So these are all various resources that you can check in on. Again, you can always email me as well. or contact our main email, which is contact@bewellpsychotherapy.com. And the phone number is 646-863-0101. And our patient manager or client manager, or one of them, will reach out to you and get back to you and just let you know a little bit more about what you can expect if you're looking forward to meeting with one of the therapists. And we do service clients in both the New Jersey and New York area. So I definitely hope that this was helpful for you all, that you were able to get some greater insight on anxiety being this normal thing. It's not something that you should be afraid or concerned about right off the back. But again, if it's impeding on your everyday thoughts, emotions, how you're choosing to live your life, if you're very social and now all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to see anyone at any point in time, mask, no mask, shield, no shield, then you might want to talk through that with someone. Okay. And so thank you all so much for attending. Thank you. I see you, Deborah. I see you, Joanne. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Um, and please feel free to reach out to Be Well Psychotherapy. Please feel free to reach out to me directly. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Take care. Thank you, Shameka. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tamika. This is amazing. It is such helpful information, and normalizing anxiety is so important. So, and you can share this presentation again with anybody who you think might be interested in it. It'll be up on our website, and it'll also be linked to Tamika's bio, where you can find a little bit more about her there. And she does have appointments available in both New York and
Stephanie.
New Jersey. So,
Yes.
yes. So we really appreciate it. And again, you can see the whole thing again. Somebody that you know that's close to you might be suffering from some anxiety, and they may need some helpful tips, and you can refer back to this at any time. So unless anybody has anything else they want to say to Tamika, we're going to sign off here. Okay.
Yes. Thank
All
you
right.
all. All right.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Tamika. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.